If you have been following the developments of the Westminster psychodrama that we tend to call politics, then it would seem to the average person that the position of Prime Minister does not seem to be one that provides any stability to the person that inherits it. This has been the case since the soft coup of 2016, which forced the resignation of then Prime Minister David Cameron. And since then, the Conservative Party went through a series of leadership competitions, with each person spending a shorter time at the helm of the party. Some like Liz Truss barely lasted the term of his summer school holiday. Now, most people were thinking that with the election of Keir Starmer in 2024, that the state of chaos would have ended, but unfortunately, that seems to have only been a wonderful dream. The sense of betrayal and power that led Mr. Starmer to the throne also seemed to want to tear him down in recent times. The circle of people whom he relied on to stab the knife of betrayal in the back of his previous leader Jeremy Corbyn seems to also have been tainted by their own sense of incompetence in choosing friends. Even from the grave, Jeffrey Epstein still seems to be taking scalps in the field of politics. But if it feels like all these happenings is a bad thing, then I want you to understand that it's not. For you see, in the wise words of Don Quixote de Flamingo, power has a short shelf life. I've always found this statement to be uniquely profound because it seems that no matter how much people try to cling onto it, power never tends to last. But there is a reason for this, and this stems from understanding the nature of power itself. For you see, my friends, the true nature of power is violence. This is how it has always been done, and this is how it has continued to be done even in our so-called civilized times. If you have the time, I will show you. But to the fragile ones among us, you might not like this video very much because it might touch on your cherished beliefs. But if you still have the curiosity, then let's begin.
Showtime, folks.
There is no person alive in this world that does not want power. From babies to the very old, everyone wants to be able to exercise authority over people to an extent. If this was not a fact, then why do you think that even as kids, teenagers and adults, we tend to be enamored with superhero movies and superhero fiction? You know, the type of media that shows people with incredible abilities that influence their environments in incredible ways. We fantasize about them, we theorize about them, and we love to incorporate them in our thoughts because we all want power. A state of powerlessness has never been anything that nobody ever claims to want in their lives. To those that are still in the rat race of wage slavery, I hope you understand now why you don't like your boss. And even when you do like them, you still won't give up an opportunity to take that position from them when it presents itself. The climb of the corporate ladder is filled with fake decorum and ruthless actions, all in a bid to secure the highest of benefits in the form of promotions. Society itself is a perpetual fight between who rules and who is ruled. Now, to paraphrase a quote from Mao Zedong, political power comes from the barrel of a gun. This is a simple truth that all successful revolutionaries have known and executed. Fidel Castro, Vladimir Lenin, and Che Guevara all stand as testament to this. It was never their socialist thought doctrine that gained them their power, notoriety, and place in history. This is also a truth that aristocracies and monarchies have always known to an extent, and the reason why the ruling class keeps a standing army at all times. The peasantry is the class they need protection from the most, because the most fatal threats are always internal. In our modern world, we address this violence in decorum and subtlety. Your boss, for instance, is less likely to kill you, but they can still remove you with a little bit of passive aggression, framing, and blackmail. Although most times, a simple withholding of your promotions and a stifling of your ability to earn higher income will also do the trick of letting you remove yourself from their sights and avoid a lawsuit. Violence also remains an ever-important part in our political world, where the winner takes all and the losers are footnotes in history. Political assassinations to reputational assassination through media hit jobs are also acceptable means of projecting violence in a bid to remove your opponents in a supposedly civil society. Keep in mind the words of Napoleon on this exact point. Keep your iron hands in velvet gloves. Now let's delve deeper.
Just keep going.
Now you might think that I'm joking when I tell you these words that I love politicians. And a general rule of politicians is this: the better the liar, the greater the politician. That's the standard of it because the world of politics is not for decent people. A politician might look, dress and talk decently, but they are anything but decent. An example of this are the cardinals in the Catholic Church. They wear their red robes and look the very image of piety itself, but underneath such disguises is a litany of sin, all covered up by confessions in the confessional box. This essentially is the true nature of politics, hence a truly morally decent person will never be able to thrive in such a world of cunning. This contradiction is the reason why political leaders that have the impression of being good people in the eyes of the voters never really end up attaining the power they might spend all their lives fighting for. Bernie Sanders, Jeremy Corbyn, and Tony Benn are all examples of people I will put in this category. And while it might feel like a conspiracy that these people are often hampered in their quest for power, the simple fact is that in the world of politics, it takes bad men to do good things. But funny enough, this is the reason why I like politics, you see, because the more they lie, the better the reactions of shock when they are exposed. If you're a fan of WWE, it's like when a beloved babyface finally goes heel. Take for example Bill Clinton. We all believe that he was a president when he gave a press conference to address an allegation against him by saying these exact words.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never.
Well, we would later find out that he was rather a great plumber in the White House, as he was laying pipe on Monica Lewinsky on a daily. I truly love when people have hope for politicians, when they are filled with the message of hope and change to the point that the atmosphere in most political gatherings become charged like a Pentecostal church event. Because it's only then that the salty tears of realizing that they had been sold a dud truly burns them into action. This feeling of betrayal that shakes the average person into a painful realization is what I call the poison chalice moment. This is the moment of clarity that what you thought was a holy grail only contained tainted blood.
You disgust me. Go on.
So what am I getting at with this video, you might be thinking to yourself? Well, here is the gist of it. The absolute state of UK politics now means that the majority of voters have lost trust in politics and politicians. And while on the surface that might be a good thing, I also recognize that in our rather restrictive democratic system, we still have no choice but to go to the ballot box and elect our new leadership. I have mentioned before that the delusion of most people in a democracy is to think that their vote actually matters and that casting their vote for the political party that they choose means that they will see the change that they want. But the truth is, politicians in offices of power owe allegiance to the people that actually own that power. These are the people with the money, the connections, and the means to tell them what to do as politicians. Take for example, the case of Keir Starmer. It's understandable that that man has broken every promise that he has made to voters, turning a centre-left party into a centre-right, nearly right-wing party. But he was effectively untouchable until his power base of Morgan McSweeney and Peter Mandelson were tainted by a scandal which has now left him in a vulnerable spot. But my question is this: if this scandal leads to the end of Starmer like most people want, do you think the new batch of people we vote in will change anything substantive? The answer is no, actually, and all we can look forward to is the disappointment of knowing we voted for empty promises after the high of removing another hated politician. We do this to ourselves all the time. But does that also mean that the individual is essentially powerless in such a system? Well, the answer to that is also yes. But if power comes from violence, then what is more powerful than an organized mass of citizens willing to seek the change they want through any means necessary? This was the point I was making in my video on changemakers, because those that can organize such a mass of people are the ones that established governments tend to fear for their implied threats of violence. Think of it very carefully. Every societal advancement have been attained through mass movements, from workers' rights to trade unions and anti-war protest. It takes people with the ability to organize the majority of people when an established system is dysfunctional that leads to true change. The current instability of UK politics can also be an advantage to those that are willing to seek real change. It's my belief that in a truly democratic system, you must be able to vote for your leaders and they must be accountable to you. But this unfortunately never really happens. But this state of affairs can also be beneficial to organized voters, because instead of casting our votes based on party politics lines, it would be beneficial to vote our own self-interest at all times. This will inevitably mean breaking with the loyalty to party model and ceasing to define our political beliefs by how much we like or dislike the opposing team. Because if politics has an impact on our daily lives, then it's time we stop treating it like a football team and start looking at it like a business deal. This is the pragmatic approach, and it shuns any aspect of morality. But you also need to understand that our political systems don't value the concept of morality either. So then again, why should you? Till next time, friends.